Hello, my name is Sonali and you are watching Around the World. You must have heard a lot of espionage or detective stories. Countries prepare agents to get them to do espionage. They are trained and then they are ready for a specific mission. But now those days are gone when the fight used to be face to face. Today is the era of information technology. That is, the information of a country is its biggest weapon, and countries make every effort they can to get it. In this type of warfare, China has gone one step ahead of the world. The latest incident in this episode is that just a few days back, Chinese spy balloons or observation balloons were seen over America, Canada, and Latin America. These balloons were seen over the missile fields of Montana, which is an important strategic location. America's most important weapons are stored here. After mapping the important places of any country, it can be and easily targeted when needed. It is much easier and safer to extract information through spy balloons, where in what quantity, what type of things are kept. This balloon was detected in America at the time when US Secretary of State Antony Blinken was about to visit China. But when such an act was detected, he called off his journey. Naturally, after this, the tussle between the two countries further increased. According to China, it was a normal balloon which did not have any equipment like surveillance, and it had reached America as it had lost control. On the other hand, in America, it was suspected that it could be a part of a foreign conspiracy. Along with this, apprehension was also being expressed that this helium-filled balloon might contain a bioweapon, and by destroying it, it would engulf the entire America. The doubt of COVID having emerged from a lab in Wuhan and China being the chief conspirator has still not faded from the memory. However, the balloon the size of 3 buses was allowed by the US military to pass through its airspace to avoid loss of life and property, and was eventually shot down over the Atlantic Ocean. But before moving ahead, let's first understand the history of spy balloons. Actually, these types of spy balloons began to come into vogue from the mid-19th century. In the Franco-Austrian War of 1859, they were used by France for surveillance. They also proved to be very helpful for tracking civilian activities during the American Civil War. Gradually, this technique became common, and by the time of World War II, this type of surveillance technique was being used against almost every major country. Not just surveillance, they were also used by the Japanese army to set fire to American territories and to attack military bases. However, this technique was not very successful, and perhaps for this reason, it did not become a mainstream strategy. In fact, once a balloon crashed into the woods of Oregon that led to many civilian fatalities. One of the problems of the balloon was that it had to fly at a low altitude. After the end of World War II, balloons flying at high altitude were made so that they could not be caught by any surveillance system. These balloons were designed in such a way that they could fly at height to be out of reach of any surveillance system. At the same time, they can also fly at height so low that it does not pose any threat to aeroplanes. This type of balloon was widely used in the 1950s. Photographic balloons were flown extensively in the Soviet bloc region, some for surveillance and some for gathering information on strategic targets. But the question is whether it is prudent for any country to take such a risk, and why is balloon spying proving to be the easiest method? Before considering this question, we have to understand what other methods of spying a country has. Then it will be easier for us to understand why countries take risk of using such spy balloons. Electronic surveillance is the most effective weapon of countries. In this, surveillance is carried out through interception of communication signals, tapping of phone calls, emails, and other forms of digital communication. This type of surveillance is more likely to be detected, and with evidence, a country can be convicted and then is at risk of facing sanctions and other legal processes. Human intelligence is the second strongest weapon of countries, which is what you usually associate with espionage. In this, individuals with access to sensitive information such as embassy staff, military personnel, or government officials can be recruited and monitored. But even in this, the gruesome process of his capture and the aftermath does not make it a good option. Apart from this, cyber espionage is also an option, in which attempts are made to steal sensitive data or intellectual property of governments. Also, there is an effort to collect sensitive information by satellites through satellite imagery. But in this type of spying, the accuracy of the information and the possibility of operating on that information is very less. Spying balloon is a more advanced version of this type of espionage, in which attempts are made to verify information. Apart from all this, nowadays the development of drone technology has also emerged as a way of spying. In this, unmanned aerial vehicle or UAV is used. But due to their short operational range and relatively limited information gathering ability, they are used only in a limited manner. This type of espionage has increased a lot in India these days, and hence India has been expressing its concern about the drones coming from the Pakistani border area. Drones are generally equipped with cameras, listening devices, and other sensors that can fly over foreign territories and return to their origin after gathering intelligence. Along with this, they can also be controlled through remote sensing. In the context of India, recently a similar balloon was seen in Port Blair, although it could not be officially confirmed that the balloon was of China. But after this incident of America, there are possibilities that there may be a Chinese hand in this. Due to the border dispute with India, the incidents of spying also cannot be ruled out. India should also keep a watch on such incidents. Now it's time for today's question. With special reference to the spy balloon, explain how is technology development affecting the bilateral relationships. So that's all for today. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.